Moin and Guten Tag. Today I'll show you how to make mouth-watering, delicious, slow-fermented sourdough crackers. I'll show you the basic recipe and then my 4 favorite seasonings. A Mediterranean seasoning with Parmigiano, paprika and smoked paprika, delicious and spicy sweet chili, and my favorite turmeric masala seasoning. But first, a quick message from my sponsor.
Do you have issues with growing your cucumbers at home? Are your cucumbers not big enough? Is your cucumber sometimes hidden below a lot of annoying leaves? Then what are you waiting for? Call 1-800-GERMAN-CUCUMBER to receive a free consultation by our professional experts.
Make sure to mention the following coupon code to get 3.2% off.
I will be using what is known as discard starter. When you feed your sourdough starter, you typically have some starter left. Some people throw this away, some people discard it. That's why it's called discard sourdough starter. However, I like to take all of that and store that in a jar in my fridge. Now, I would never ever recommend somebody to discard this. What you're looking at is long, slow fermented flour. You see, I'm trying to improve the marketing of the discard starter. We should rename it slow fermented dough, slow fermented artisanal sourdough crackers. I think that's what we need to name this video. I frequently like to bake a bread out of this, and I'm also going to be linking the video right here. Sure, you can make an open crumb bread out of this because it's too sour, but you can make delicious crackers like we are doing in this video. Yeah, so over time the bacteria and the yeast inside of your sourdough has converted all that mixture of flour and water into something very probiotic. There's also cheese made from raw cow milk, and this is exactly what's happening. We are taking that mixture of flour and water and we are converting that. So in the end, we are probably pretty much just eating what the bacteria and what the yeast produced. And this is not close at all to the original product. Just imagine a wine that has ripened for a long period of time. So yeah, this is nothing bad, this is something really good. And that's why I'm trying to make the sourdough really the star of this video. And I'll actually top that, because we're not just making the crackers, I will also show you how to use your discard starter, well, your slow fermented sourdough starter, your slow fermented sourdough, and we will take that and make a nice sauce out of it, a nice dip. This dip is going to play very well with our sour crackers. Yeah, so enough random gibberish. Let's get started. Let me show you how to make them. It's surprisingly easy. Your sourdough typically has 100% hydration, meaning it consists of equal parts of flour and water. Now we want to reduce that water level to around 50%. So when you have 400 grams of sourdough starter that you want to be using, just add another 400 grams of flour. So if I calculate this correctly, then that would be 800 grams of flour in total, including the one from the sourdough starter, and 400 grams of water, 50% hydration. That's what you're aiming for in this recipe. I would recommend you to just use a basic all-purpose flour, not a high-protein bread flour. Well, you could, but then you probably need to use a little bit more water. Actually, I realized while making the crackers that probably something closer to 55% hydration would have been better. Yeah, so you mix all that together and then you add another 3% salt based on the overall quantity that you're using. And that's pretty much the dough. Then you roll that out and you bake that. Easy, right? I would say the hardest part about doing this is actually the baking, but I have 4 iterations that I'll be showing you in this video as well. Next up, we are going to be preparing the seasonings. You can season it any way you like, any way you feel creative. If you have an amazing seasoning, I would appreciate a comment to let the others know. Yeah, drop a comment on this video with your favorite seasoning, but just my 4 selected seasonings. And I'm also going to be using baker's math so that you can just scale up or down depending on how much sourdough you have at hand. I will also be sharing all of them again in the description of the video so that you have everything also in written form. Have a look in case you're interested. Now to the seasonings. I incorporate the seasonings, which I gotta say was a little bit of a pain in the arse. It would have been easier to add all the seasonings or the one seasoning, basically just make one dough with one seasoning and incorporate all that right from the start. But yeah, wanted to show you 4 different options, and I'm looking like a complete idiot trying to put this together.
After incorporating everything, I let that sit covered for another 24 hours. I wanted to make sure that the flour that I added also ferments a little bit. And yes, I let that sit at room temperature. That would make sure that everything would ferment relatively quickly, and I would have even more sour crackers.
So then we baked all that shizzle. I tried different techniques. What worked best was already to slice the crackers completely before the bake. That way I could easily rotate them during half the baking time. And yeah, at the start I was being very, very German. I used the measuring tape to measure exactly where I wanted to cut the crackers. But yeah, then look at this epic fail.
Der Habicht das Lamm. Hurts.
In the end, I just gave up. I was too lazy. I'm a lazy person. So yeah, then I had some of them which were on the edge of the dough, which weren't as nice and rectangular. But that's totally okay. I preheated the oven to around 180 degrees Celsius and then just placed the crackers in there directly, and the oven also was using the fan function. Then to have even browning of the crackers, rotate the crackers after around 4 minutes. Then another 4 minutes in, I would flip over all of the crackers, making sure that they have browning from the other side as well. And what was really awesome is because of the gluten network, some popped up a little bit, and that just gave them so much more additional crispiness. And then I would put them back in for another 4 minutes, rotate the whole tray again, and then finish for another 4 minutes. Now, as always, my temperature in the oven could be very different than your temperature. This is something you have to experiment with in your own oven. Just have a look at the color of the crackers. They should be a little bit brown, but also not too brown. Give it a shot, taste the cracker. If they're crispy enough, perfect. If not, just put them to the oven for a little bit longer. Next up, I made the dip. I wanted to make the sourdough starter the star of the dish as well. I found this very exciting because I never heard somebody doing this. And being a super sourdough enthusiast, this is something that could be awesome. So yeah, let's try it. I opted for Greek yogurt as a basis. It has an increased fat content. As a sweetener, I used some barley malt because I just love the taste it gives. And then some Muscovado sugar, brown sugar, pretty much. You could also probably just take any other random sugar that you have at home. For storing the crackers, I would recommend you to just use a Ziploc bag, place the crackers inside, and if you feel that they're not crisp enough, you can just bake them for a few minutes again in the oven. Final verdict, I gotta say those crackers turned out really excellent. I personally enjoyed the Parmigiano Mediterranean seasoning the most. The dip also turned out so much better than I expected. I had literally zero hopes. So how good? I would give it probably, I guess, an 11 out of 13. Don't you also hate people who use annoying rating scales? That brings us to the end of this video. Hope I was able to convey the message that this card starter is actually not something you should discard. It's something delicious. It's something that you should be using for your baking. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and may the gluten always be with you.
Are you struggling with giving a proper handshake in this current situation? Call us now to get a free consultation on how to do a proper safe handshake.